I can still recall the exact night my entire world collapsed. I was alone in my modest office, buried under piles of paperwork, when my phone vibrated. Seeing Emily's name on the screen, my wife of 8 years, I expected a sweet note, maybe a playful goodnight or a reminder about dinner. Instead, what I read felt like someone had ripped the ground out from under me. The message was brutally short, almost heartless. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. Don't try to stop me. My stomach turned to stone. My hands trembled so violently I could barely hold the phone. For a moment, I just stared at the glowing screen, praying I'd wake up from what felt like a cruel dream. In a matter of seconds, everything I believed in, our marriage, our love, our future together, was smashed apart by a few icy sentences. Panicked, I rushed home, clinging to the hope that it was some kind of sick joke or an impulsive outburst. But reality hit the moment I stepped inside. Half her closet was empty. Drawers were pulled out. Her favorite suitcase was gone. On the nightstand, our wedding photo still sat there, mocking me, while her side of the bed was stripped bare. I called her again and again, but every attempt went straight to voicemail. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the suffocating silence of our house, listening to every creak of the floorboards, every distant car passing outside, all while the truth screamed in my head. Emily had left me with nothing but a text message. The following weeks were torture. Friends and family kept asking the same questions I couldn't answer. What happened? Did you two fight? Is she coming back? I stayed silent, not because I didn't want to talk, but because I genuinely had no answers. Emily offered none. No calls. No explanation. No closure. Her silence hurt worse than the words she'd sent. Nights dragged endlessly, food tasted like cardboard, and everywhere I went reminded me of her. The little cafe where we had Saturday breakfasts. The park bench where I'd proposed. Even the grocery store aisle where she'd once laughed at my snack choices. All of it felt like a cemetery of memories. Then the whispers began. A mutual friend eventually let slip that Emily had been seen around town with another man, a co-worker of hers. Suddenly, everything made sense. The abrupt message, the urgency to leave, the cold detachment. She didn't leave because she was unhappy, she left because she thought she'd found someone better. That revelation burned deeper than her departure. While I had been loyal and planning our future, she had been plotting her escape. I felt humiliated, angry, and stupid for missing the signs. Slowly, though, heartbreak started to give way to anger. Months passed. Piece by piece, I forced myself to rebuild. I poured myself into work, got serious about the gym, and reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. The pain was still there, but I was learning how to live alongside it. I told myself over and over, she was gone, and I needed to move forward, no matter how heavy my chest felt. Little by little, I became stronger. The man who once sat by the phone waiting like a desperate fool no longer existed. In his place stood someone harder, someone who understood that love could destroy you if you let it, but life doesn't stop. Then one random afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Emily. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. This time, the message wasn't short. It was long, pages of words I never imagined I'd hear from her. Apologies. Regret. Desperation. She confessed that her fling with the man she left me for had imploded. He'd lied, used her, and tossed her aside. She said she finally understood how badly she'd messed up, that she realized too late she had thrown away the only person who truly loved her. Her words dripped with guilt. I made the worst mistake of my life. Please, can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long while, just like I had when she first ended things months earlier. But this time, I felt something unexpected. Not heartbreak, not desperation, just an odd sense of calm. She had shattered me with one message, and now she was crawling back with another. I knew what she wanted. To be welcomed back like nothing had happened, to find the same man who once hung on her every word. But I wasn't that man anymore. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We chose a quiet coffee shop. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. The confidence she used to carry like armor was gone. She looked worn out, hollow, older than her age. She tried to smile, but it faltered the moment she saw how calm and collected I was. Tears started streaming down her face almost immediately. She begged, pleaded, apologized over and over. She said she wanted to come home, that she'd learned her lesson, that we could rebuild what she'd destroyed. For months, I'd been the broken one sitting in pain. But that day, it was her turn. I let her speak, pouring out every excuse and every ounce of regret she carried. When she finally went quiet, I leaned forward and said something I had been holding on to since the night she left. Emily, you ended us with one message. Do you really believe another one can erase all of that? Her sobs grew louder, but I didn't flinch. I told her forgiveness wasn't the same as reconciliation, and that trust, once shattered, doesn't magically reappear. She wanted me to carry her burden and clean up the mess she made, but I wasn't her safety net anymore. When I walked out of that cafe, I felt lighter than I had in years. Emily stayed behind, crying into her hands, the same way I once cried over her message. But this time, the power wasn't hers. She gambled everything for a temporary thrill and lost. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even need her apology. My closure came from knowing she finally understood the pain she had inflicted, and that I had risen above it. The man she broke no longer existed. The man walking out that door was stronger than she could ever deserve.